me King of Prussia Slack community leader. I am also Director of Delivery Management and Ops over at SaltClick, and I'm super excited to be talking about Salesforce channels today. New fun feature. We use many different solutions across many different environments, so it can be overwhelming. But more and more, Slack is being designated as our work operating system, right? I'm sure you've heard that that phrasing before. And depending on what department you're in, you might have different systems of records. But the goal really is to have everyone working from that communication tool, right? And we're really thinking about Slack as that main tool. And there's all kinds of percentages and dotted lines here, but the story really is there's a lot going on for us on the day-to-day, and there's a lot of context switching. So how can we minimize that? And again, the answer we're really trying to create here is Slack. So that's why they're bringing the customer 360 view to Slack. That's really what I've been thinking for Salesforce channels, right? So Salesforce has their customers 360. I've got historical knowledge, I've got activity, I've got conversations that we've had before. Maybe it's email coming in or notes. I've got opportunities, I've got potentially campaigns that they're associated with. I can see holistically in Salesforce what's going on for that customer. But in my flow of work, I have to leave my communication tool to go get and look at that data potentially, right? Depending on the systems that I'm using. So let's really think about bringing that together in Slack in the form of Salesforce channels. So kind of keep that customer 360 vision and think about how they're surfacing that up inside of Slack. That's the way that I've been thinking through what we're accessing and kind of talking through that with teams. So it's one shared view of your customer now in Slack, and it's in the channels that we're used to navigating. And now I've just gotten additional tabs. So again, you can check those percentages out. I don't want to business speak to you, but really want to talk about what you're going to see and experience in there and what the value is. So for us, it's bringing all of that information together. I'm surfacing it and condensing it to the people that need it the most, right? The phrase that I tend to use, which has probably gotten longer over time, is I'm surfacing and condensing the right information to the right people at the right time. And that time is in the flow of work for them. So I'm unifying all the data from Salesforce, and then I'm unifying unstructured data. That's probably a new phrase that you're hearing a lot. A fancy way for saying disorganized, right? That could be a conversation because it's not, structured into fields. So I'm having all of the Salesforce fields and content come over along with now the communication or what we're saying and doing there. Okay, how it works, we kind of hit that a little bit, so I won't spend too much time on this slide, but it's really bringing the information from Salesforce and surfacing that into a Slack channel. And we'll look at that. It is definitely going to respect Salesforce permissions. So if I am a Slack user and I have my user set up in Salesforce, whatever permissions are set up for me in Salesforce, that's going to be respected in Slack. So I'm not going to be able to see or do anything I shouldn't be able to do. And there is, I believe now they're calling it an identity user. So if you have Slack users that don't have access to Salesforce, there's a way to set them up now, and that's with that identity user. Also, pop in questions at any time. Hello, Boston and Philly, welcome, welcome. Okay, this is the fun part. So I'm going to stop sharing and then reshare to make sure that you can see and hear the video. If you don't love that communal video watching experience and you want to vote that off our island, we can definitely do that. But I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Make sure I can share that tab with you. Okay, so I'm sharing tab with audio. So we'll see if this wants to cooperate.
We all struggle to track emails, spreadsheets, Salesforce updates, and chat messages. Information is disconnected. For example, as a sales leader, I'm constantly managing multiple customer accounts and have tons of tools to look across. With Salesforce channels, I can collaborate with cross-functional partners in real time across Salesforce and Slack, breaking down those silos. This is a specialized Slack channel that maps one-to-one to a corresponding Salesforce record. In this case, an expansion opportunity with Acme. This channel is accessible in both Slack and in Salesforce, right on that record. Salesforce channels create a seamless connection between communication and customer data, making it easy to stay aligned and take action. AI-powered summaries ensure I'm always up to speed, even if I jump into the deal midstream. Key details like contacts, canvases, pinned messages, and files stay organized within the channel, so nothing gets lost as the deal progresses. This has been a complex deal, but we're finally close to getting the contract signed. Because Salesforce channels are available in Salesforce and in Slack, I can bring in finance and legal teams in the final stage to review terms, share files, and provide input, all without slowing down the deal. And everyone can collaborate from where they work best. We align on a discount in real time, and with everything centralized in the channel, context, approvals, and next steps, we're able to move quickly and keep the deal momentum going. Once the deal is closed, the transition to the service team is seamless, so the team is able to quickly get up to speed on the account. And with Agentforce joining the team, we take it a step further. AI-powered digital agents surface insights from Salesforce records and conversations. For example, the Customer Insights agent can provide a summary of the customer's challenges and business goals, as well as create a draft of the implementation timeline based on the customer's priorities. With everyone working together with a complete view into the data in Slack and in Salesforce, teams can collaborate across every stage of the customer journey to deliver exceptional experiences. The result? Increased revenue, higher retention rates, and greater customer satisfaction.
Cool. Okay, basically what I said in a fancier format. Okay, there is one other video, if you guys are down to watch that. This one doesn't have captions. Sometimes I hate hearing sound and I want to have the captions. It doesn't have that, so fair warning on that, but we'll share that one as well. Maybe a little repetitive, but different lens.
Hello, Salesforce admins. We have heard from you just how difficult it can be for your teams to collaborate because their conversations and their data are scattered across different email chains and text messages and messaging apps, which makes it really difficult to focus on serving the customers that you have and winning new ones. Instead, your teams are stuck toggling between apps all day. That's why we built Salesforce channels. With Salesforce channels, you can create a dedicated place for your team to collaborate right inside of Lightning around any Salesforce record. This allows them to bring in all the essentials where they can share information, discuss next steps, and take action. Here's how it works. As an admin, you can decide which objects should get Salesforce channels. Those could be standard objects like accounts and opportunities and cases, or it could be a custom object that your team uses. Once you've enabled this, your teams can start to create channels for their records. And anyone who has access to the record can get access to the conversation, ensuring that all the right people stay in the loop. This is also available wherever your team might be working, whether that's directly inside of Lightning or in the Slack app, which is available on the computer or on the go from any mobile device. And of course, all of this comes with enterprise-grade security controls, so you can safeguard your team's sensitive internal data. With Slack, your team also gets access to powerful collaboration tools with things like file sharing, automated workflows, and you can even bring your Agentforce agents into Slack, allowing your teams to do things like automate SDR outreach, refine sales pitches, or update deals. To learn more, check out our Trailhead course or try this out in a sandbox environment. This is a whole new way for your team to collaborate and serve your customers, and you're just a few clicks away from getting started.
Okay, we made it. Rico, great question, just to kind of call out what you had. And it's one of the things that I was going to call out almost as a detractor. But we'll get there and I'll kind of demo that. So current state is that the name of the record that you have in Salesforce becomes the name of the channel And I'll kind of illustrate that a little bit more. And there's no way around that currently. I did give that feedback to Slack, and you can as well. In the Slack Workspace, I'll link to that. Another demo. Okay, benefits. And we talked around this a little bit, right? But it's really giving folks information in the flow of work. So I'm able to bring in information from Salesforce into Slack. And then in Salesforce, there's a Slack component that lets me into that Slack channel conversation, right? So we'll show that as well. And there's a couple items there that I will call out. That has been pretty seamless, right? It's a component on a page layout that's very quick and easy to add. And then you're able to converse back and forth as if you would be in Slack. And again, a little bit redundant, but brings the data to where you're working. And then if you're stepping toward AI and Agentforce, whether it's Agentforce or it's a Slack AI app, there's a ton of them out on the marketplace. This gives that agent deeper context, right? So it's surfacing up data in the flow of that agent's sphere of knowledge. Use cases. I think the more you see this, the easier it might be to kind of think through, and we can do some brainstorming and ideating, but where might you actually be able to see some value from this? The first one I'm going to chat through a little bit. There's a couple for sales, then there's a couple for service, and then I'm going to show you some resources. There's some QR codes, and then we'll jump right into looking at Slack and the Salesforce demo environments. And then we could do like a Q&A at the end as well. But a couple quick use cases. I loved the imagery that is the slide, because as much process and rigor as you can have around your sales process, there's still going to be many actions and many data points that need to get captured, and that could potentially be fragmented. Sales folks want to sell, they want to have conversations, they want to be with people, they don't want to go update Salesforce or what other system they're using. So that kind of creates maybe, I don't want to say fake data, but just lack of data if they're not actually getting to the system in time. Fatigue, context switching, we talked a little bit about that. This is actually a potential solution. Again, surface up information in Slack, but give sales folks the opportunity to update a record. So not only can I see information, but I can update it as well right on that tab, and we'll look at that. And then if I am using agents, then maybe I could have them go update information as well. And I promised you I wasn't going to read off of slides to you, and I'm definitely not. So if you see anything that you want me to talk through in a little bit more detail, just let me know. But the use case really is just selling as a team, working in Slack, or if I feel more comfortable, I can do that from Salesforce as well, from that conversation widget. But being able to see everything I might need, update from either system, sharing information across systems, and then pulling in other people quickly as needed. And everything stays in that one conversation. You saw a little bit about AI summarization there as well. That's a feature that's becoming enabled for folks. That started on the 17th, and that's going to be happening through the 22nd of this month. So if everything's in one conversation, you can quickly summarize what's happening or what's happened so far. And then, pulling in leadership or other teams as needed. For a quick little swarm when a deal isn't going as planned, right? All of that becomes a lot easier when I can pull someone into the flow of that conversation. I can help them get the context they needed, and then we can go action things right away in a system. I'm just scrolling in the chat to make sure I don't miss anything. And that goes hand in hand with accelerating approvals. So commonplace, we see approval channels, we see deal channels, we see opportunity specific channels up until a certain point, and then they might get closed and archived. But being able to pull in all of the information that we need, maybe even creating an RFP channel, really condensing all that information, getting the specific people needed into that channel and that conversation, so that we're not recapping everything, updating, giving those updates to leadership becomes so much easier, and doing that all within Slack. And streamlining handoffs as well. Not a sales specific use case that I'm about to talk through, but goes hand in hand with sales. We have, of course, a sales to delivery handoff point where a deal is closed, a project is going to be kicked off. We're doing part of that in Slack, and then we're doing that in a quick meeting as well. But Slack enables us to hand off file information, something like building out a kickoff deck, reviewing SOWs, reviewing any other context or information that the client has provided to sales that might already be in Slack or an email, and getting that to us in a project Slack channel where we can discuss the deal, we can discuss any kind of outliers that we might need to be aware of, any kind of context that we need from sales to make that a great kickoff. We're able to do a large portion of that in Slack. So just wanted to give you an alternative perspective for onboarding and handing off for project work, right? The same principles apply. It can all happen in a condensed way in Slack, in that channel, and you're pulling in the right people to have that conversation. Okay, quick service one. I'm going to show you some resources, and then we're going to look at systems, which is my favorite part. But again, same kind of generality, same principle here. We're functioning in Slack. We've got channels where we can see customer specific information, right? I can see cases. I can see on an account channel a related list for cases, so we can look at that in our demo environment as well. But being able to swarm a case potentially, right? I need to resolve this customer's priority one incident issue faster. Who can I pull in? Let me create a swarm channel. Let me make sure I can get IT, whoever else might need to be involved in there. Maybe even their sales rep, if they're if they have a tendency to reach out to sales to escalate, I can just pull them right in as part of that conversation so they can see what's happening with real-time updates. But again, pulling people into a channel, having them already be in that channel if that dedicated channel is set up, and then giving them information to make quick informed actions is another way to look at Salesforce channels. Questions about anything? I feel like I'm talking a lot. Normally I'm showing a lot, but we'll get there very soon. Okay, we're at the resources point. So there are some amazing trailheads that were created. And then, of course, a demo environment. So there is a Slack developer program. I'm going to throw a whole bunch of links and resources in our follow-up email as well after the session. But just to say a couple out loud. So there's Salesforce developer program where you can get workspaces. I think you can get up to like 3 or 4. You can, of course, get like an Agentforce AI demo org now. We know that they started rolling those out and they're free. So you can connect the two and play around. And then you can learn on Trailhead how to do those things. I'm going to show you some of that as well. I'll leave this here for a second and I'll show the next one. Just yell at me if you want me to go back to anything. So there's Trailhead. There's an implementation guide. So that one has been really fantastic to review. And they update it as the system gets updated as well. That links out to a whole bunch of help articles on the Slack site, and it walks through literally everything. So the pre-setup steps, the ways that you can adapt or customize page layouts, create Slack-specific page layouts, all that fun stuff is held within that guide. And again, it links out to anything else that you might need. And then, again, quick way to set up a Slack workspace. So I'll leave that there for a minute or so. And then again, you're going to get the slide deck. I'm going to send you a whole bunch of links. And then we'll get into the fun part where we're looking at workspaces and orgs. Questions about anything so far? Okay. I'm going to stop sharing that. I'm going to move my screens around. That can go. And I apologize. I should have had more corny jokes ready to go for you guys. I did not. Usually I love a good joke. Okay, and then I'm going to have the chat open again. I'm I'm going to check that periodically so you can ask questions. If I don't know it, if it's a curveball, we'll find out. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so hopefully everyone is seeing my demo workspace here. And I want to, before we look at the channels piece, I just want to talk a little bit about the pre-steps. So you have to connect whatever Slack workspace you're using with your Salesforce org, right? So whatever one you're using for that. You're going to initiate that in Slack. And then you're going to manage that Slack connection request in Salesforce. I would have disconnected and then reconnected live with you, but I find that it gets angry when you do it too frequently. And I was doing it like multiple times a day. So I just kept it connected for our demo, so I didn't mess anything up for you. Once you accept the connection in Slack, you'll be prompted, or I'm sorry, in Salesforce, you'll be prompted to go back to Slack and just confirm the connection. You'll hit OK. And I have a whole guide that I created, and it's in the implementation guide as well. That'll walk you through it. And then once that's done, you'll have selected if you want to map automatically your Slack and Salesforce users and how you want to do that, whether it's email or an IDP identification. I chose email because we don't have single sign-on or SAML setup. I don't have a grid org, and I just mapped it automatically. That saves you a ton of time. You don't have to go map, users in Slack and Salesforce. It just happens automatically, and then you can deal with any outliers. And then once that's done, then you have the opportunity to start actually configuring or customizing Slack channels. So I chose for this demo account and opportunity just because they're quick and easy, right? Pretty standard. You can add a whole bunch of, pretty much any standard object, but you can also do custom ones as well. Just to show you what that looks like, I'm just going to hit add object, and then it's going to update on screen for us. So standard objects, custom objects, whatever you need, your business need, whatever you're going to get folks to update in the flow of work, can add here. And then you can remove pretty quick, and then you can see the link out to the record page layout. The reason it's showing you record page layouts and a way to link out to that is because the Slack Salesforce channel, the details tab, is built off of the Salesforce page layout. Some of you might be jumping for joy. That's amazing. That's fantastic. Some of you might be going, yikes. There is a way to customize that. I'll show you that in a second. But I'm going to go over to my demo org. Obviously, a huge Harry Potter fan over here. But the opportunity details tab that I chose on the previous screen, remember I selected opportunity, we can see my details tab is comprised of the opportunity page layout. And yikes, that's a lot, right? Like that's a lot of scrolling that I'm going through. That's a lot of detail that I may or may not want everyone to see in Slack. It's a great opportunity to do some spring cleaning, right? Josh, dynamic pages. Not so much a dynamic page, but you do have an opportunity to create a Slack specific layout that would then surface in Slack. So again, you can see here, I've got all these related lists. Those are customizable. I just left them on here. But if you don't think that the Salesforce page layout will be as appreciated in the Slack view, then you can customize that. And they make it pretty easy to do. So on my object, whatever that might be, it could be the opportunity one, it could be, whatever you're selecting, there's a new Slack record layout. And you can see I made a account specific Slack layout, and I really narrowed down what's actually showing in there. So this is an account Salesforce channel. I've got account details. I slimmed that down quite a bit, right? You may or may not know off the top of your head what fields folks are going to want. You're probably going to want to ask and then, just adjust as needed. But again, you can create a Slack specific layout. It might make it easier for folks to navigate inside of Slack. Questions about that? I'm going to show you this really quick too. So this is called a link unfurl or a URL unfurl, depending on how you're feeling on a given day. You can also customize this as well. I didn't change this. I didn't have a ton of use cases that I was thinking throughout the time, but you can certainly customize this, and it's done in the same place. So Slack record layouts, new, and you would just choose URL unfurling layout to be able to customize what shows there. And throw your questions in along the way. As Rico pointed out, the channel name, and I'll go back over to my example here. Sorry, I lived through tabs. My channel name is defaulted from the Salesforce record. There is no way to get around that right now. So you can see on this record, once it loads, I started the process from Salesforce. And I'll show you what that looks like net new in a minute here. But this record, opportunity, Hogwarts Wizarding Advisory, right? So that's the same. It's a one-to-one. I can't change it in Slack. So whatever that record is in Salesforce, again, that's what it becomes in Slack. Yes, absolutely. This is great. Yes. Oh, awesome, Josh. Thanks for jumping in there. Can you show tasks and activities? Great question, Michael. Currently, no. I did ask in our Slack workspace what the time frame is looking like for being able to show activities and tasks and events. It's a TBD. I think the product owner was out of office. They just went through this big whole go live and they needed a break. But it is a question that I'm asking as well. I know others have in the community. So I'm making an assumption it's on the roadmap, but it's just a TBD. But great question. Okay. I'm going to go back to my messages. And you can see I was playing around in here with sending custom emojis, sending GIFs, and then sending images. And then just to show you over here in my Slack channel, everything went through but the GIF. It comes through as a blank space. So that's another piece of feedback that I provided as well. So if you see a blank line in Salesforce, someone probably didn't just enter space and then hit enter. I know it is very sad. But it more than likely they sent a super awesome GIF and you just have to go bounce over to Slack to see what that amazing thing is. You're welcome, Alicia. See you, Jennifer. And this will be recorded, so when you're bored later, you can review. So that's something, but you can see Jean's picture came through clear as day. So, and it also shows the link that I sent in the Slack workspace. All right, so let's bump over to a new opportunity, Neverland Advisory. So this is what your component is going to look like. Another tidbit here is that the only way to control access to the component is through the page layout filtering. So you might want to filter by a certain role. You might want to filter down to specific people if you're going through a beta, right? Like Rico, I know you're testing in your sandbox. We're testing in production, I know, but it's filtered really just to Salesforce admins. One of the reasons is because of the naming conventions, but another is just to make sure everything flows nicely before we enable for other folks. So again, you can limit visibility based on the filtering on the page layout for that component. I'm just going to hit create channel. It's going to work its magic. Things are happening here. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to go over here. And now I've got a new channel that's showing. Just to call out, I know it was in the video, there's a summary section. I didn't really go through a ton here, but it will summarize or try to summarize to its AI capabilities, what's happening in the channel. It looks like I faked it out a little bit because I put a phone emoji, but that's here and functioning, and you've got files and a canvas as well. questions about anything you've seen so far? Okay. Let's see. The last thing here I know I wanted to hit really quick are these quick actions. And I have to find the blurb in the workspace, so I'll send this out post meeting. But some of your quick actions may or may not show in Slack. So we've got a lot, and you can see not all of them are showing up. So there is some reasoning for that. And I'll throw that out post meeting because it escaped me and I forgot to put it in my notes. I know I'm kicking myself, but I'll get you some follow-up information on that. Okay, is it possible to restrict users from creating new Slack channels from the Salesforce component within Slack channels for Salesforce records? Because we've got existing channels. Let's see. So how I've overcome that is just page layout settings. So I'll just go to settings and edit page really quick. The short answer is on the component or through a permission, not yet. The longer answer is you can add a filter to set visibility. So you could do something like profile or anything else you can grab, right? I think I have it set right now for Salesforce Administrator, but you could basically restrict access on a filter on the page layout. And the second part of that, we have existing channels and wanted users to only choose existing ones. Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Not that I've seen outside of just limiting here and then verifying that something exists ahead of time, right? And if I'm in Slack, I do have the ability to create a channel. And, we don't restrict our users on the Slack side to create channels because we have strict naming conventions. So that is, a piece of feedback that I gave, but a really good question. Hopefully on the roadmap there with some permissioning and ability to check. Now, I know if you all are familiar with that, and I think she's still in the call. Well, I saw Regina. Regina works with Centro. There's some other apps out there that have certain functionality, right, where I could check to see if a Slack channel is already connected and not create another one. But just scanning to see if a channel exists already would be, I think, pretty difficult. So the way that we've overcome that is checking to see with a flow action if a channel is already related to that record or not. But super great questions. Any other questions? Anything else you want to see or talk about? Overall, it was pretty simple to set up, right? That implementation guide that you're linked to is probably the hardest part, I'll say. You have to think through, how do I want to map users? What's the best process for us? Do I want to use existing page layouts or not? Really thinking through your strategy before you go and do that. And Rico is following a best practice, doing that in a sandbox before we're doing that in production, definitely. And then, of course, just testing with your users what fields make sense for them or what fields don't. And then, that's pretty much it. Is there a roadmap? Not one that I've seen. Like the Slack folks are really great in the workspace. If you want to join that, Michael. They have Ask Me Anything sessions all the time with their product owners. And then in the feedback as well, that feedback channel, you have the ability to give feedback and ask questions. We cannot bulk load the channel mapping. I don't know. Beneath, is that how it's pronounced? This is a super great question, and I want to find out. Can we bulk load the channel mapping? You're definitely going to have a channel ID on every channel, right? And then can you hit that component with that ID? Super great question. I'll say out loud that we have looked at doing this with a different tool, but let me not lie to you, and I'll get back to you on that one. Beneath, are you in the Slack Workspace? I'm going to send a link for that. What other awesome questions do y'all have? Because these have been fantastic. I love the curveballs. Oh, perfect. Okay, I'll find you in there. And I'll send out some follow-ups over email as well. When it's archived. Let's look. Okay, so here we are. We're on Wizarding Advisory. I'm going to archive this one for everyone. All right, now I'm going to go over to if it wants to load, I'm going to go over to my opportunity where that was linked. Okay, so I'm getting a message that it was archived, and then I can't send messages now to that channel. But it's letting me know I can archive at any time. So I would say probably standard. Yeah. Super great questions. Oh, that's another great question. So I don't have it built out in here, and this is definitely something I want to test. There are identity users that are being basically positioned as that Slack's Salesforce user. So the idea would be to go set up a user in Salesforce for that Slack user to have the one-to-one relationship, and then give them, set them up as an identity user. I have heard in other workspaces that there are some challenges with this, and I didn't have enough time to set it up for this demo, but that's definitely on my to-dos for this week and next week. So that gives them the ability to have that mapping without having to go get additional licensees there. But great question, Beneath. Do they limit the number of channels? Not that I've seen. Your workspace, your channels. Not that I have seen. Does the search option in Slack only display records from objects that are enabled? Oh, let me read that one more time. Does the search option in Slack only display records from objects that are enabled for Slack channels? I think that's going to be dependent on what you have. So if you have like enterprise grid and you have enterprise search, it would be available. Like you'd be able to find it as long as your systems are connected. Let's jump in. Let's throw something on here. Where are my? This is my demo environment, so forgive me while I struggle through. Give me 1 second. Let's see if this works. Okay. All right, so we've got, oh, I'm gonna have to go back in that archive, see if it breaks anything. Okay, let's see if this yells at us. Okay, on archive. Okay, so I added, let's just call it a random file, right, to the Salesforce record. And I searched for it by name, as long as I didn't just butcher that. and it did not come up as a related. My thought is I've got to add it to the files tab if I want that to come up in search. Again, if I have enterprise search and I have Salesforce connected, that would come up in a search. I don't have that set up for this instance. But great question. Send email action open in Slack and not send. Yeah. I think somebody else called that in one of the Slack workspaces too, Michael. So that's a great call out. Definitely more happening in Slack versus just redirecting us to Salesforce has been a theme that I've seen in the Slack workspaces as well. I never want to leave Slack. That's my problem, you know. All right, I'm going to send an email follow-up out. I'm going to send a recording. You've got a ton of resources. You'll have the QR codes in the slide deck that you get sent, and then you can always find me in Slack. I'm in the Slack community workspace and a bunch of other ones. And yeah, ask your questions there. Like, keep the conversation going, and I appreciate everybody's time today. See you real soon. See everybody. Oh, also, obviously, I'm going to send out in that follow-up email plushie winners and cert winners. So thank you for coming. Appreciate you guys.